Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. You've read the title correctly. It's going to be my first race of the year. I imagine one of the few early races of 2020 following the kind of COVID pandemic that we are still experiencing. And I just want to kind of put it out there before I say any more that, of course, I'm very, very aware of the current situation around the world, and I'm sure we all have our own take on what we would do and our thoughts and feelings about everything. And I, for one, have certainly maintained the highest level of safety that I possibly can for myself and my family, and even returning to work, I've insisted on keeping as safe as possible. So when this race came to my attention, and it's a race that I did know was possibly going to happen, but I didn't enter it. It's actually a race that last year I won, and here is the little trophy. It's an amazing race, and I've done a number of races with this race director, and I've had a really, really good time. The field itself, the maximum number of people that can take part is 20. And as it stands right now, there are still spaces available. So let's just take an assumption there's going to be 15 people there. The route itself is really quite spacious in terms of the width of the forest trail, the width of the roads that we're going to be on, and I'll explain a little bit more in a moment about the race itself. But essentially, I was contacted the other night by the race director on Instagram, who said, "Do you fancy coming back to defend your title?" I was in discussion with my cousin at that time, who is training for a half marathon, and I said to him, "As a local race near to where I live and where he used to live," and I said, "Do you fancy it?" He signed up, I signed up, and it was at that point, because it's his first race and because he's still working his way up a few distances, I made a decision that actually I really want to enjoy this race, and what I didn't want to do is put huge pressure on myself to try and be kind of battling through the field, trying to overtake people and all that kind of stuff. So whatever happens, but I'm there to support my cousin. So it will be his first experience, not only of the route, but his first experience, as I mentioned, of a race. Which, as we all know, that first race can be quite overwhelming. And as much as he has said to me, you go defend your title, I just said I want to enjoy it. And what I really don't want is my first race of the year to just be this huge build up, this huge pressure, and I just don't really fancy that. I want to be nice and relaxed. I want to be able to, if people are hurtling past me, give space, not worry about my pace, not worry about the time. So I think what I've done is I made the decision that I will be taking part. It's this weekend. It's a 10k trail race. I will be supporting the race director beforehand with a bit of admin, and then I'll be running the race. But when I run the race, I'll be supporting my cousin. So we haven't ever run together. We haven't actually seen each other during this whole period of time either. So, we want to make it a shared experience. We want to make it enjoyable. Now, I ran the race last year, and I did it in 1 hour and 4 minutes, and my pacing was kind of all over the place, and I'd never experienced the route before. And I just followed somebody in front of me until the last 2 kilometres, where I was able to kick and I was able to win. So I'm not going to pretend that it was a win, that I was streaks ahead and that I've led from the start. I didn't know what I was doing. There's a little bit of luck involved, but essentially on the day I was able to win, which is super. It's one of my favourite even t-shirts that I've got as well, which is the Omen t-shirt, which you may have seen before. I absolutely love it. It's a really cool design. And yes, whilst it'd be really cool to take home another trophy, I think my approach to this is that I'm lucky to be able to find a race that's local to me. I'm even more fortunate that I've raced it before and I'm familiar with the race director. I don't know what the start will look like in terms of like a staggered start, but if you recall from previous videos, when you lead up to Cathedral, which is near to me, there's a very, very wide path, which is wide enough for 2 cars to easily go up and down, with space in between probably for a third. So it's a very, very wide start to the race, and as you lead up and lead down, there's definitely opportunities, ample opportunities in fact, for people to overtake very, very safely. As I mentioned before, there's a field maximum of 20, and it's not currently sold out. So even if it's half, 15, if it's 19, I think that to me feels like a manageable number for the race organisers and a manageable number for me as a runner, to know that I can just take part, have a really good time, whatever happens, and just focus on the experience. And like I said, I didn't want to go into this with the pressure on having to perform at a certain level. And if it turns out that after this race, I look at the stats and the person who won I did it at a time which I could have easily beaten is utterly irrelevant to me. It's just not about that. So I'm very aware of safety. I will take a buff with me. It's not mandatory that I've seen to wear any sort of face masks or face coverings. However, they obviously want you to respect social distancing and be sensible. And from my experience of racing these races before, a lot of the people that run the race director's races that he puts on are, from what I've seen in the past, really sensible, decent people. I mean, I've never ever run alongside anybody who's been a bit of a fool. So I think it's kind of like a little community we've got going on here. I want to support him locally. Obviously, it's his business and it's something that he wants to, continue to run. At the same time, there's also a 66.6 mile ultra race, which I won't be taking part in, which is actually sold out. So people have taken the opportunity to dive into that. It's probably the first ultra of the year, I would have thought. But I thought I'd just let you know, it's the first race, little race announcement that's coming up. It's quite exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. And if you saw my long run from last weekend, where I ran up the sand, it's basically the reverse of that. So I'll be running down the sand. And I'll put a link to the video from last year as well if you want to watch it. I tried to be a bit cool, a bit cinematic with it all. So there's nothing of me talking. It's just a bit kind of like this eerie music and you get the idea. But I thought I'd just say to you, hey, race coming up. Of course, put your thoughts down below. And like I said, for me personally, I was never expecting to take part in a massive race. I was invited to come back. I was invited to join in and to help out. So I'm going to be going for that. And of course, I've got the opportunity at any point during the race to pull out of the race. Equally, I've got the opportunity to just hang back and just take it at my own pace and go super slow. So there's no pressure whatsoever on finish times for me. I just want to enjoy it, and hopefully my cousin will get something really nice out of it as well. So anyway, catch up with you soon. Post down in the comments what you would do, but I will be racing next Saturday, and I will fill you in on how it goes then.